Welcome to the class. In this video series of Sale of Goods Act 1930, let's discuss the important aspects of the Act. They are divided into various parts. So in this first video, we are discussing about contract of sale, essentials of contract of sale, definition of the term goods and different kinds of goods. As we have already discussed, the Sale of Goods Act 1930 contains provisions which were originally embodied in sections 76 to 123 of Indian Contract Act 1872. So what happened? With the growth of the society, mercantile transactions were also increasing. Okay, so what happened? It actually led to a complexity, and therefore we realize that a specific law is required in this regard, and therefore Sale of Goods Act 1930 was passed. Okay, and this act is based largely on the English Sale of Goods Act 1893. Contract of sale is defined under section 4 subsection 1 of Sale of Goods Act. Okay, and according to the definition, a contract of sale is one when the seller transfers or agrees to transfer property to goods to the buyer for a price. Okay, that means contract of sale is a contract whereby seller transfers or agrees to transfer property to goods to the buyer for a price. In this act, wherever the term property is used, it is used with reference to ownership or title to the goods. Okay, that means contract of sale is that kind of a contract where seller agrees to transfer or transfers ownership of goods to the buyer for a consideration called price. Okay, so yes, let's see the essentials of contract of sale. Okay, the first essential ingredient, definitely parties of contract of sale. They are buyer and seller. Generally, two parties are required, as it is very clear that buyer is one party and the seller is another party, and therefore there should be minimum two parties. But there are certain exceptions which is recognized by law, that is, a partner may buy the goods from the firm. Similarly, an agent can purchase his own goods for the principal, and one part owner may purchase from the other part owner. In these three situations, it appears that buyer and seller is one and the same. But in all other situations, buyer and seller are two parties, and therefore minimum two parties are required. Okay. Now who is the buyer? Buyer is the one who buys or agrees to buy, and seller is the one who sells or agrees to sell goods. The term goods is defined under section 2 subsection 7 of the Sale of Goods Act. Okay. Now this is the act actually defined the term goods, and the same definition is used in later legislations such as Consumer Protection Act 1986. Okay, so we will see clearly what is the definition and what it includes. Okay, now transfer of property is an essential ingredient of contract of sale, because the ownership transfers from the seller to the buyer, and this is not a temporary transfer, but this is a transfer of ownership from the seller to the buyer. And if there is no transfer of ownership, there is no contract of sale. Okay. Price is the consideration in terms of money, and in contract of sale always price is the consideration. And sometimes it is also allowed that price can be paid partly in cash and partly in any other way. But at least some part of the consideration must be cash, must be money, in terms of money. Need not be cash, but it must be in terms of money. Only then it will be a contract of sale. A contract of sale can be absolute or conditional. Say for example, as soon as the sale is over, the ownership is transferred without any conditions. But at the same time, there can be conditions attached, like only if the money is transferred, the sale is over. Only if the check is realized, the sale is over. Something like that. You can add conditions to the contract of sale, depending on which the sale will be complete. And one more thing which we must say along with the contract of sale is not prescribing any particular form. That means it can be an implied contract, it can be an express contract, it can be an oral contract as well. And therefore, any form of contract of sale is accepted, and there is no specific instruction under the legislation that the contract of sale should be formed in this way or that way. Rather, section 5 subsection 2 reads, a contract of sale may be made in writing or by word of mouth, or partly in writing and partly by word of mouth, or may be implied from the conduct of the parties. So there is no form prescribed. As we have seen, a contract of sale, as I told you, it was earlier part of Indian Contract Act, and therefore every contract of sale is basically a contract, and therefore all essentials of contract such as consideration, capacity, free consent, etc. all such requirements must also be fulfilled in order to make a contract of sale valid. Now the term goods. Under section 2 subsection 7 of the Act, goods is defined. Let's see. It reads, every kind of movable property other than actionable claim and money, and includes stocks and shares, growing crops, grass and things attached to or forming part of the land which are agreed to be severed before sale or under the contract of sale. That means the term goods covers a wider range. It includes all movable property, but at the same time it excludes actionable claim and money. Now, it also includes not only things which we think are movable, but goods which are attached to earth, like apples, grapes, bananas, coconuts, flowers, anything which is, see, the term used is growing crops, stocks, shares, grass, even trees. How can they be movable property? Because they can be cut and removed and becomes movable. You can pluck the apple and sell it. You can pluck a flower and sell it. You can remove even a building, brick by brick, windows, articles, furnitures. You can remove each and every article of the building and then it becomes a movable property. Trees you can cut and the timber becomes goods. And therefore, goods includes all kind of movable properties, even if they are attached to earth, if they can be severed, that means if they can be removed or severed from earth, either before the contract of sale or under the contract of sale. That means suppose you have oranges which are grown in the tree, on the tree, it is still on the tree, you can pluck them and sell it. Or otherwise, you can enter into a contract, the buyer will come and pluck it. So, in both ways, they are movable property. So, goods means and includes all movable property except actionable claim and money. We are discussing about various kinds of goods. Goods are divided into existing goods, future goods and contingent goods. You may ask why we are dividing them. There is a purpose, because as far as contract of sale is concerned, it is very important at what time the ownership is passed from the seller to the buyer, because along with ownership, risk of destruction, liabilities, everything passes, and therefore it is important for contract of sale to determine exact time of transfer of ownership. And for determination of that, we need to identify what kind of goods are being subjected to contract of sale. Okay, so let's see. First, existing goods. Existing goods are those goods which are existing at the time of making the contract. Okay, and they are divided into three. Specific goods which are identified before the contract of sale. That means A wants to buy B's car. The car is identified before the contract of sale. Now next is ascertained goods. Goods are ascertained at least at the time of entering into the contract. Say for example, X wants to buy a television. He goes to a showroom, and definitely in the showroom there are various kinds of various brands of televisions, from which he removes or he selects one particular television, and that is being kept ready for him to buy. So once that particular television is kept ready for him, then it is ascertained, and it is ascertained at the time of entering into the contract. Now the third category are unascertained. Say for example, X wants to buy 2 liters of oil, and he goes to a wholesale dealer, and wholesale dealer has various types of oils kept in big casks. So okay, large quantity of oil, maybe 100 liters, 150 liters. So from the bulk quantity, X is trying to buy only 2 liters, and he enters into a contract. At the time of entering into the contract also, the goods are not identified. Goods will be identified only when 2 liters are removed from the bulk and measured and kept for the one to buy. Okay, so goods, unascertained goods are not even identified at the time of entering into the contract. Okay. Future goods, goods which will be made in the future. You are entering into a contract by which you are giving an order to make a furniture. Furniture will be made in the future. Contingent goods. Contingent goods are actually future goods, but we are not sure they will be made in the future. They will be made depending on a contingency. For example, X wants to make a jewelry. The jewelry should have some peculiar jewels studded to that. So the jeweler says that I will make the jewelry for you provided that kind of jewel is available in the market. So this is a contingent goods. That means goods will be made in the future depending on the happening or non-happening of an event. Okay. So in this video, we have discussed about essentials of contract of sale, definition of the term goods, and various kinds of goods. The remaining part of the Contract of Sale and Sale of Goods Act we will discuss in the following videos. Till then, bye.